It all began with a simple mistake, a digital blunder that, in just 3 seconds, changed everything. I was waiting for a late train in a dirty subway station when my phone buzzed. I nearly ignored the notification, thinking it was probably another bill or rent reminder. But the name on the screen, Aunt Patty, made me stop. She rarely texted me and was barely tech-savvy, only using her phone for things like Candy Crush and complaining about the past on Facebook. Yet there it was, a grainy, low-quality video file, sitting in my inbox like a grenade with its pin pulled. I tapped to play it. The dinner party. The sound hit me first, the clinking of glasses and silverware, and loud, carefree laughter, the kind that comes from people who are completely at ease and certain of themselves. The camera must have been propped up against something because the view was crooked, but it was just enough to catch a few familiar faces in the dim light of a chandelier. A sick feeling hit me before I even understood why. Then I heard my uncle's voice. "I mean, how long is he going to keep up this little fantasy?" he said. There was a pause. "New York, a business. Come on, the kid can barely keep his head above water. It's embarrassing." The full-bodied laughter that followed was accompanied by my cousin Jake. "I bet he's living in some rat-infested shoebox, calling it the grind." Jake, whose car payments I had secretly been covering for the past 6 months, was a typical hustle bro, who acted like he was on the verge of success but was really just one late rent notice away from moving back home. Punch. More laughter erupted, and then I heard the voice that made my hands go numb. My mother's. "Ryan tries so hard, bless his heart." For a brief moment I thought she might defend me. I hoped she would remind them that I was the one sending money home every month. I hoped she would finally say the one thing I had always wanted to hear. That she was proud of me, that she knew how much I was sacrificing. But then she sighed. But let's be honest, he was never the smart one. The air was knocked out of me as if I'd been punched. He doesn't have what it takes for real success. Some people just don't. The laughter that followed was even louder and more confident this time. Someone clapped the table, toasting my failure. The realization. I don't remember how long I stood there, my phone hot in my hand as the subway screeched into the station. I don't remember getting home, only that by the time I did, my body felt hollow, my mind a live wire sparking with a sharp new feeling. They never knew the truth. They never knew how many nights I'd gone hungry so they wouldn't have to. They never knew how many humiliating rejections I'd faced to keep their bills paid. They never knew I was killing myself in silence. But now they were about to find out just how far a failure could fall. I stayed awake all night in my tiny windowless apartment, the very one they made fun of, the one I had fought tooth and nail to keep. I played the video on a loop until their laughter echoed inside my head. It wasn't just what they said. It was the easy comfort with which they said it, as if they'd been mocking me for years, as if this was just a normal part of their lives. Clarity and retaliation. I looked at my bank account, seeing that the next round of payments was due in 3 days. My mother's rent, my uncle's overdue electricity bill, and my cousin's credit card minimum. For years, I had transferred the money without a second thought, without being asked, and without ever being thanked. A shocking thought hit me. They didn't know I was the one keeping them afloat. They had never questioned where the money came from, only that it appeared every month like magic. I sat there as the city hummed outside my thin walls and felt a feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time. Not sadness or exhaustion, but clarity. I opened my banking app, my fingers hovering over the transfer button. For the first time I hesitated. Then I clicked, declined. I watched the screen update in real time. No money was sent. No bills were paid. I let the clock run out and waited. The domino effect. The first call was from my mother. I didn't answer. Then my uncle. Then Jake. My aunt. Voicemails stacked up like dominoes, but I left them unread. By the end of the week, their polite concern had turned sour. The texts were no longer confused. They were angry. "Ryan, I don't know what's going on, but my rent was due yesterday. Call me." "Ryan, the payment didn't go through." "This isn't funny." I scrolled past my uncle's aggressive texts and Jake's panicked. "Dude, WTF, my card just got declined." And then one message stopped me cold. "Ryan, I need to talk to you. I think I did something bad." It was from Aunt Patty. My heart rate sped up. She knew. Somehow she knew. I let the message sit for 3 hours, letting her stew in the tension. The game begins. When I finally called her back, I could hear the panic in her voice. "Ryan, oh thank God, honey. Listen, I let the silence stretch." "You what?" My voice was flat and cold. She hesitated. I think I sent you something by accident." "You mean the video?" I asked, a sense of control washing over me. She gasped. "So you saw it?" I closed my eyes and pictured the dinner party, the plates full of food I'd bought, their laughter, my mother's voice. "Oh yeah," I said. "I saw everything." The line went silent, followed by a fake sniffle. "Ryan, honey, you know how they get after a few drinks. They don't mean it." "They meant every damn word," I shot back. "And you know it." She made a weak sound of guilt. Then in a lower voice she asked, "You didn't tell your mother, did you?" "Tell her what, Patty?" I asked, my tone casual, but my heart was pounding. "That you were the one paying for everything." The room tilted. My mother didn't know. None of them did. They thought I was a struggling failure, chasing a dream while they lived off my sacrifice, completely unaware. "Who do they think has been sending the money, Patty?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. They think it's your father," she said quickly. "A new strategy. My father dead for 10 years. They thought he had left a secret fund for my mother, and she was simply sharing it. Not one of them had ever questioned it. Not one of them had considered that it might be me." My hands weren't shaking anymore. Now I saw the game clearly. I had been playing with one hand tied behind my back. It was time to change that. "Patty," I said, my voice sharp as a razor, "I need you to do something for me." "What?" she whispered. Smiled. "Tell them I'm dead." The silence on the other end was deafening. "Ryan, what did you just say?" she choked out. "You heard me," I replied, staring at my apartment floor. "They already think the money was coming from Dad, right? So let's see what happens when it stops. Permanently." The aftermath. Aunt Patty stammered, her voice shaking. "Ryan, listen to me, this is cruel. Your mother. My mother sat at that table and called me pathetic while she spent my money." I cut in. "You tell them you got a call from an unknown number. Tell them it was from a hospital, no, a morgue. They found my body." I could hear her horrified gasps. "Make it believable," I instructed. "And then what?" she asked, her voice snapping. "What's the endgame here?" I smiled to myself. "Then," I said, "we see who really gave a damn." Watching the wreckage. The fallout was immediate. Within 24 hours, my phone was a wreck of texts and missed calls. My mother's messages begged me to call her. My uncles demanded to know what was going on. Jake's were filled with angry confusion. But the real panic set in 3 days later, when the payments stopped for good. My mother's rent bounced, my uncle's electricity was shut off, and Jake's credit card was declined. Their reactions weren't grief. They were terror. They hadn't lost a son, a nephew, or a cousin. They had lost their lifeline. A week later I messaged Aunt Patty again. "So, who cried the hardest?" She replied almost instantly. "Ryan, I don't think you understand what you've done." "Oh, I understand just fine. Answer the question." After a pause she wrote, "Your mother, but not for the reason you want." "What does that mean?" I asked, a dark feeling rising in my chest. A minute passed. Finally her message appeared. "She thinks you had life insurance. She's not grieving, she's looking for a payout." Something inside me snapped. They didn't just see me as a failure. They saw me as a paycheck. Final moves. I let them squirm for 2 days, allowing my mother to call every insurance provider she could think of, and my uncle and cousin to panic about their finances. They didn't care about me, they cared about the money. Now that they thought I was gone, they were hunting for scraps. I let them chase their tails, and then I made my next move. On the 3rd morning I walked into a small law office in Brooklyn. I slid a piece of paper across the counter. "I need to legally disappear," it read. 3 hours later I had a new name, a new banking structure, and a paper trail that led nowhere. Ryan Bennett was dead. I sent one last message to Aunt Patty. "Tell them they won't find a single cent. And tell my mother." I paused, then slowly typed the final part. She was right about me. Some people aren't cut out for real success. I just happened to be the exception. I blocked every number, wiped my accounts, and booked a flight. I was gone for good. The unraveling. They thought they had lost their safety net. They had no idea I had just set fire to the whole bridge. For 2 weeks, I watched the wreckage settle and the fire spread from a safe distance. I had changed cities and numbers. But I wasn't done yet, because for people like my family, losing face was worse than losing money. First, I targeted Jake. I sent an anonymous email to a collections agency with details about his hidden assets and an anonymous tip to his landlord. Within 48 hours, his car was repossessed and he had an eviction notice. He went from posting bottle service photos on Instagram to begging for loans in private messages. Pathetic. 2 down. Exposing the truth. Next was Uncle Mike, a man who loved to talk and hate taxes. He had an off-the-books business, or so he thought. I posed as a concerned citizen and called the IRS, giving them just enough information to launch an audit. Within a week, his business was dead. That just left my mother, the woman who had built a life on my sacrifices and after my death, had gone hunting for a payout. Her punishment had to be more personal. I sent the video of their dinner party to all her friends, her church group, her neighbors, and her boss, along with a simple message. "This is what she said about the son who kept her from being homeless. Hope she's proud." Her respectable reputation was gone in less than 24 hours. The whispers started and the shame spread. The best part. Her family values company fired her, not just for what she said, but because she had been accepting money under the table for years without reporting it. Glorious. 3 down, but I wasn't finished. The final act. The final phase of my plan wasn't about revenge. It was about exposing the truth. They thought they had power over me, that I was a pathetic failure. Now I was going to make them wish I was dead. I created an anonymous social media account and posted about a family living off a dead man's money. The story spread, and people began to recognize them. I made sure a reporter got interested, and the headline wrote itself. "Mysterious Death Exposes Family Living Off Fake Inheritance. The Shocking Truth." The entire town knew. My mother couldn't leave the house without feeling the weight of 1,000 judgmental eyes. Jake's friends stopped answering his calls, and Uncle Mike's business was gone forever. Freedom. When I was sure they had nothing left to take, I sent one last message to my mother. "Now you know what it feels like to lose everything. Consider us even." And with that, I was gone for good. For the first time in my life, I felt weightless and free. My phone buzzed in my pocket one last time. I knew it was her. Almost tossing the phone into the water, a final flicker of curiosity made me check it. "I don't know who you are anymore." I stared at the message for a long time, then smirked. I typed my final response. "That's because for the first time in my life, I'm not who you made me." I hit send, powered down the phone, and walked away from the past for good.